Hi everyone. Happy International Youth Day. Happy African Youth Day, right? Let me see. We're in celebration mood. Come on. Today we are in celebration mood. I want to see the smiles. I want to see the hearts coming out. Today we are just celebrating. Good to see your lovely faces. I can see Deborah is flying with planes, and you can see Maura on the call. Lovely to see all of you. Mohammed, Osman, lovely to see you guys. Yes, please continue introducing yourselves in the chat box as we give one more second to at least one more minute as people keep joining. And please share with your colleagues, share with them to join us now that we have started the celebration. We've started the party. Do we have a DJ on the call? I see Nancy from Kenya, Patrick from Uganda, Jennifer from Sudan, South Sudan, Jennifer James from South Sudan, and Sharon from Nairobi, Samuel from Burundi. Welcome, guys. So I think we should start. Just continue sending the messages to your friends in the groups to join us now. So good afternoon. I'm hoping it's good afternoon for most of us. Welcome to today's celebration, where we'll be celebrating youth-led initiatives that are addressing climate mobility in the Eastern Horn of Africa. You know, it's International Youth Day today, and for us who are delivering innovations and solutions for the challenges that we are facing in our countries, in our communities, it calls for celebration indeed. And the aim of today is to spotlight some of the young people that are doing incredible work in their communities and in their countries, but also hear some of the stories and the solutions that different young people have or have seen from their respective countries and respective communities. My name is Rose Kopsinga, and I'm a migration, environment, and climate change youth advocate. I'm from Uganda, and I also serve as the African Union and IOM Youth Migration Ambassador, and I'll be moderating this session today. The session will take about 90 minutes, depending on how it goes. And I hope by the end of this session, you'd have connected with different young people that are doing amazing things. You've had inspiring interventions and questions, and we want this session to be interactive as you can think about. And so having said that, we're going to hear some opening remarks from one of our young leaders. It's Youth Day today. So we're having keynote speaker, Maura Ajak, to share with us her passion, her advocacy. She's also a very seasoned journalist, and you're going to hear from herself. So why don't I just hand over to Maura to give us a keynote today? Maura, over to you.
Thank you, Rose. Hi, everyone. And I'm glad to see you all, and happy International Youth Day. It's really a pleasure to connect again, and then also to interact, and then to be updated about the recent activities and the things that we've been doing in the past, and even currently. Thank you, Rose. Greetings to everyone. It's an honor to be here today as we celebrate the remarkable contributions of young leaders in the East Africa and in the Eastern Horn of Africa. Climate change is the defining issue of our time, and youth are at the forefront of this battle, leading with innovation, resilience, and determination. As we engage in today's discussions, let's remember the power of collaboration, and the need for increased support for these young change makers. Together, we can amplify their voices and drive impactful change in our communities. Let's revisit the Kampala Declaration signed in July 2022 during the Inter-Ministerial Conference on Migration, Environment and Climate Change in Kampala, Uganda, by ministers from Africa member states. The significant event organized by the Republic of Uganda led to the first high-level regional Kampala Declaration on Migration, Environment and Climate Change, KEDEMEC, signed by ministers from 11 countries in the East and Horn of Africa region. The KEDEMEC presided over by His Excellency President Yoweri Museveni of the Republic of Uganda and His Excellency Salva Kiir of the Republic of South Sudan, focuses on addressing climate change impacts on human mobility and enhancing sustainable development through the communities in social inclusion, livelihoods, finance, investment, policy regulation, climate migration, and adaptation. Progressing towards implementation since 2022, the KEDEMEC saw the formation of an expert working group consisting of climate, migration experts, and youth representatives supported by IOM. The group meets regularly to execute activities outlined in a plan action developed collectively. In August 2023, 48 African countries, hosted by the government of Kenya, came together in Nairobi to develop and agree on the text for continental expansion of KEDEMEC Africa. The final addendum was presented to the ministers at the Africa Climate Summit, signed at a ministerial signing ceremony during the event. KEDEMEC Africa unveils 25 additional commitments, underscoring the urgency and whole of government prioritization on cooperation to address climate change and migration noxious challenges in Africa. The commitments highlight the interlinkage of human mobility with green and blue economies, water and food security, conflict, sustainable development, and healthcare policy coherence. Partnerships at various levels, data accessibility, communication improvement, and safeguarding migrants' dignity and rights are emphasized. We need a change in every sector to address climate mobility. The ongoing damage is catastrophic and requires implementation through healthy leadership. I believe we as youth can influence that into our societies. Africans are particularly concerned about climate change and climate mobility, highlighting the need for significant contribution and effective leadership to restore our climate. We must endure the climate catastrophe by exploring various future possibilities and encouraging sustainable practices. Millions of children are currently living in areas with a very high risk of flooding, while millions more reside in regions facing extreme or high risk of drought. This highlights the urgent need for proactive measures to ensure the safety and well-being of these vulnerable populations through our contributions in various capacities. Each of us can play a role in the climate movement by utilizing our unique skills, resources, and networks. It's crucial to find ways that not only benefit the environment, but also bring personal satisfaction. Life on Earth is invaluable, and it's essential to leverage our individual skills to leave a meaningful legacy. Challenging the narratives that foster feelings of powerlessness is the first step towards safeguarding the planet for future generations. Together, let's embrace leadership that offers solutions, long-term strategies, and a commitment to preserving our environment. Every problem requires a solution. A solution requires someone like you. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Maura. And I mean, what can I say? A solution requires someone who is online right now, someone like Jennifer, someone like Humphrey, someone like Deborah, someone like you who is listening in and who is going to present today or who is part of the call. So, I mean, the person you've heard from right now, it may sound so small because I didn't introduce her very well, but this is an award-winning journalist with decades of reporting, decades of producing, decades of training, and has won very notable achievements and awards as a peace ambassador, and has worked with, if you've ever heard about Al Jazeera, this person that has just spoke to us has worked with Al Jazeera before. So what I'm trying to say is that young people are young, but they're also experts. So thank you so much, Mara, for sharing that and taking us through what KEDMEC is and how it started about. And I'm sure for people that are hearing the Kampala Declaration on Migration and Environment and Climate Change for the first time, Mara has given you a very good summary of what it is. And young people have been part of this development, this declaration from the beginning to up where it is now, and we're going to continue even as it goes on. So having heard from that, why don't you allow me to invite my 3 speakers? And one of the speakers was actually part of KEDMEC, some of the youth engagements. Humphrey from Tanzania, I have Mary from Kenya, and I also have Mohammed from Somalia. There are quite a number of Mohammeds, so one of the Mohammeds, yes. So allow me to welcome Humphrey to give us the situation. What is it like in Tanzania? What is the climate mobility situation? And what are the solutions? What solutions have you seen young people or the government and other actors try to implement to address the climate mobility challenges, but as well harness the positive bit of planned, regular, and safe, orderly human mobility for the sake of climate adaptation and protecting lives? Over to you, Humphrey. Humphrey has a presentation for us. So I don't know if you'll be able, okay, someone is already sharing the screen.
Well,
Over to you,
thank you so
Humphrey.
much. Happy International Youth Day to my fellow youngsters in this call. I'm so privileged and humbled to be part of this powerful webinar that brings us together as youth leaders from across the continent and even beyond to discuss contemporary issues aligning with climate mobility. My name is Humphrey Mrema. As I've been introduced, I'm the chairman of Youth Survival Organization based in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. I'm a climate and energy consultant, and I've been working in this space in advocacy, capacity building for the past 6 years. And I was also part of the process in developing the KEDMEC, first in 2022 in Kampala, and also its extension, which was last year in Nairobi. I'm so privileged to share the status quo, the profile of climate mobility in Tanzania, what has been done and what has to be done, what are the bottlenecks, and how we can share the best practices. Next. Next slide. Thank you. Okay, so my brief presentation will provide an overview of climate impacts in Tanzania. We will also, in a very few minutes, look about Hanang case study, Rufiji, the national initiatives in our country, as well as the youth-led initiatives, and what are the bottlenecks and the solutions in the cause. Next. So Tanzania, as many other African countries and other global South countries, we depend highly on climate-sensitive livelihoods, whereby more than 65% of the workforce depends on agriculture. And even our latest GDP, 27% of it comes from agriculture, 14% comes from tourism, and 8% comes from fishing. Our large reliance on agriculture has intensified post-migration in search of greener pasture, and also due to our less resilient to the extreme weather events because of geographical factors, people are forced to move to avoid impacts of floods, desertification, land degradation, landslides, drought, and other climate shocks. Next. And so, because as how I said, these challenges are intertwined, statistics shows that more than 70,000 people in Tanzania get internally displaced each year. Can you go previous to the slide? Yes, they get internally displaced each year because of climate change impacts. And also the extreme weather events and lack of supportive adaptive infrastructure have intensified these climate change impacts. In response to this, in 2022, IOM launched a report on migration, environment, and climate change in Tanzania to examine the causes and consequences of climate-induced migration in Tanzania, and whereby climate shocks have been hitting us harder, and youth have never been left behind because these climate shocks have affected their livelihood as an aftermath of climate weather events. Next. So I would like us to go through two briefly, because of time. We had two recent events that have shown how climate mobility is such a problem in the continent and also in our world. Last year during COP28, while COP28 was ongoing in Dubai, in our country, in Hanang, we experienced landslides because of incessant floods that happened. Hanang is a district found in the northern part of Tanzania, whereby because of the landslides, 30 people were reported to die, and more than 5,000 people were displaced. They were forced to evacuate from their homes and their villages because their lands were buried of under debris and also declared unsafe for habitation. While all this were occurring, also infrastructures were damaged. Here we are speaking about homes, schools, roads, and farmlands. I remember our president, Samia Suluhu Hassan, was in COP, and she was forced to stop her attendance at COP and return back to the country so as to resolve this issue while around. And we saw how international community became sympathetic, contributed some amount of money and resources to help us. But as you can see, the situation, most of the measures that were taken were reactive, not proactive. They were reactive because everyone was like there trying to solve the issue while people are already died. People are trying to solve issues while infrastructures were already damaged. People were forced to relocate to other places while things might have been done earlier. Next slide. Next, yes. Also, we had another incident this year in Rufiji. Please go back. Yes. In Rufiji, in February, we had another issue. Rufiji, it's one of the areas which it's near to the water table. So because of floods, 20 deaths were reported. Over 10,000 people were forced to leave their homes due to rising water levels, which destroyed their properties and made several areas uninhabitable. Also, this led to agricultural loss because Rufiji, it's one of the areas where rice is planted and other food, as well as cash crops. So all this, as it's happening, we don't have a dedicated funding. We don't have a dedicated mechanism to help people actually to prepare, to survive, and also to actually recover from this kind of impacts. Next. So what have been done by our country? We have some national and regional initiatives. First, we know the Paris Agreement, which our country, Tanzania, is also among the signatories as a party member. Also in 2020, reinforcing the Paris Agreement, we finalized our national determined contributions, which among them we had ambitions to adapt the impacts of climate change as well as to mitigate the impacts. The NDCs were a bit broader. So in 2021, we decided to come out with a national climate change response strategy. But it's too unfortunate that the NCCRS, our climate change response strategy, has not explicitly addressed climate mobility challenges, has not explicitly talked about how people can be actually helped and supported while they are moving because of the impacts of climate change. So as we are looking forward to actually review and come with a new response strategy for 2027 onwards, we are looking for that climate mobility will also be highlighted, intensified, and cemented. And also in 2022, among the 11 member countries who signed KDMEC in Kampala, I'm so privileged that Tanzania was among them. And while it was extended last year, also Tanzania participated. Next. when it comes to solutions that I, as among youth delegates who attended the workshop last year in Nairobi and in 2022 in Kampala, here in Tanzania, I'm currently operating or conducting a project which is on the pipeline, which is called Children Climate Adaptation Toolkit, whereby through this toolkit, we aim to inform the government and development partners on how children can adapt to the impacts of climate change. So as we are coming with this kind of policy toolkit, we aim also to address climate mobility. And these have been a separate thematic area, which will also be touched in this. And also, we are on the verge of coming with a COP29 National Youth Engagement Program here in Tanzania, whereby it will run in 3 phases, pre, during COP, as well as post-COP, whereby through this program, which will run for 6 months, commencing in September, we aim to raise awareness and advocate for policies, building capacity on UNFCCC processes, and the agenda of climate mobility. We aim to also be positioned at the center of this program. Next. So while all this is done, bottlenecks that we have been seeing in our country, we lack infrastructures. There are policy gaps because we need comprehensive policy that address explicitly immediate and long-term needs of climate migrants, because we have seen in our national climate change response strategy that has not been addressed. And also there's limited awareness to community members and even to our decision makers on how climate mobility is intense and how to solve it. Next. So the solutions that we aim 3, in order to reinforce KDMEC, we aim to advise and advocate the government to develop policies, build capacity of local government authority leaders and the community in large, as well as investing in resilience through infrastructures, financing, and so many others, so as to build a climate resilient community. Lastly, while all this is happening, we want youth to be at the center. Sorry, next, the next slide. While all this is happening, youth have to be in the center as decision makers. We also want constant flow of resources to support our solution. And lastly, just transition requires youth-centered priorities and sustainable livelihoods that won't force them to move in search of greener pasture. Thank you so much. And this marks the end of my presentation.
Thank you so much, Humphrey. Thank you for that. And I mean, what can I say? Like, you and Maura just like completing the whole picture, right? No, thank you so much. And for those ones who have listened to Humphrey, Humphrey is a chairman for the Youth Survive Organization. He's an urban planner, an energy expert, as you've heard, and has over 6 years work experience in youth-led non-for-profit, has expertise in policy negotiations, advocacy, as well as been engaged in a number of very important programs such as the Doha Program for Action for Least Developed Countries, the Kampala Declaration, which we usually call KDMEC. So going forward, when you see KDMECC, KDMEC, you know what exactly we're talking about. And also been engaged in other initiatives like Youth for Climate, as well as the Climate Vulnerable Forum. Thank you, Humphrey, for sharing the experience and the projects and the gaps in Tanzania. And let me first can we do like virtual round of applause? One for Maura and then for Humphrey. And I won't stop until I see the claps. Can you give me some claps? You can also put them in the chat box. Yes, thank you. Thank you. All right, thank you so much, Humphrey. And having heard from Humphrey, allow me now invite Mary. I hadn't seen her in the call, so Mary, are you here? Mary Kay.
Hi, Rose, how are you?
I'm good,
Yeah.
thank you. Good. Good to see you. I was looking around and no, thank you for joining. And do you want to turn on your camera, please? If that's
Not really because of network issues where I am right now.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mary, for joining us. And for those ones who don't know Mary, Mary is married Kenyan, is from Kenya, and is actually a graduate of environmental planning and management, and is also a policy practitioner working on issues of climate, mobility, and displacement. Mary is also part of the Climate Mobility Africa Research Network, as well as the Yango Migration Working Group. Mary has represented youth in a number of high-level sessions in different aspects at COP. She's also a human rights practitioner, and also currently engaging with the African Group of Negotiators Expert Support Group. So Mary, you've had the presentation, you've had Maura's opening remarks, keynote. What is the situation in Kenya? What is climate mobility like in Kenya, or in your community, if you can take us to your community? How is it like?
Okay, thank you so much, Rose, and greetings to everyone. Happy International Youth Day. I appreciate also Humphrey for sharing. It is also good to see him again after COP. Good job. We have all heard my name, and today I would like to share with us insights on the recent climate-induced displacements in Kenya, particularly the massive floods that affected many people here in Kenya earlier this year from March, April, all through to May 2024. I believe most of us are already aware of what happened here in the country. Maybe first of all is to just share Kenya's setup. We have 47 counties here in Kenya. And for those who might be asking, what are counties? These are geographical units created by the 2010 Constitution of Kenya as the new units of devolved government. Basically, the counties recognize the right of communities to manage their own affairs and to further their development, and also to protect and promote the interests and rights of minorities, grassroots, and marginalized communities. Just to quickly move forward with the discussion, during the heavy long rainy season back in March, April, and May, 42 out of 47 counties were strongly affected. And you can imagine with every county having over 150,000 people, we can just imagine how many people were really affected, injured, some, of course, dead, and loss of properties that even today have not been recovered, and they may never be recovered, This kind of loss and damage, of course, comes with associated symptoms of depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorders, definitely. I believe maybe some of friends from Kenya are right here in this call, and probably some can relate with this. Also, many settlements and low-income houses here in Kenya are found in the areas most prone to floods and landslides, such as along riverbanks and in floodplains. Very low-income neighborhoods, such as Mathare informal settlements, were severely impacted also by the floods due to fewer solid structures, congestion, poor sanitation, infrastructure, blocked drainage systems, and also many families ended up sleeping on the rooftops. And actually, why I couldn't share a presentation is because some of these photos are very, 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 very vulnerable to look at, And I believe maybe for some of us who are following up the news, they actually saw what I am just talking about right now. Another region also in Kenya which was affected is the Rift Valley region. The Rift Valley region was also very much affected. As the name states, Rift Valley or the Great Rift Valley. I know most of us from East Africa are familiar with the Great Rift Valley. The region is inhabited by many hills and lakes, and this highly contributes to rapid runoff into rivers downstream, and of course, fueling floods even up to Nairobi, because these catchment areas are very much interconnected. Sometimes water will just come without knowing the exact place where it is coming from, And of course, this affected surrounding peri-urban areas. And due to this, many homes were submerged so badly in water for a very long time, long days and long nights. And also in the capital city of Kenya, which is Nairobi, over 250,000 people were affected and 21,000 people were displaced. As a result of this devastation, a notice was issued urging communities in high-risk areas to relocate to low-risk areas. And this led to establishment of displacement camps in different parts of the country. And also the start of the schools here, second term, had to be postponed by 2 to 3 weeks because the situation was really bad. Roads, railways, and bridges were also severely impacted. Children could hardly move to various places of education. Also, parents couldn't go to work. Others didn't have a place to stay during the season. And these are just few insights from me, actually, in regard to the state of climate mobility here in Kenya. Due to time constraints, I may not be able to share everything today, but I believe we will continue with these discussions in various platforms, you know.
No.
Yeah, back to you, Rose. Back
No.
to you, Rose.
Thank you so much, Mary. I think I had a very important question that I don't want you to skip. The question of you've shared
Yeah.
what you've talked about really brings the whole interconnectedness. The communities are already vulnerable. The communities are already living in areas that are quite prone or susceptible to hazards, are the ones that are mostly affected. The communities that are already low income with, poor settlements already are the ones that are the most affected and will be most affected. But how do you think policymakers and other stakeholders can ensure that the situation that happened in Nairobi this year does not happen again? How can they prevent similar occurrences?
Thank you once again, Rose. To start with, Kenya's social characteristics increases vulnerability of water resources, including poverty and low income levels that prevent long-term planning and provision at the household, water control infrastructures, inadequate maintenance and deterioration of existing infrastructure. And of course, the natural state of the land has already been altered through settlement, roads, deforestation, livestock grazing, and cultivation, which results to greater proportion of rainfall runoff. Indeed, these events highlight the urgent need for better disaster preparedness and more robust climate adaptation strategies. More and more voices of youth must be promoted to tackle the vexed questions of environmental and climate justice, and this includes intra and intergenerational equity considerations. There is an urgent need to also scale up response in the affected areas, including food, shelter, and non-food items, healthcare, water, sanitation, and hygiene, as we all call it, like WASH interventions. I would really encourage the government of Kenya, supported by humanitarian organizations like IOM, to proactively prepare for these disasters by ensuring prompt emergency responses and rescue missions on the ground. Some areas also are not accessible even at the onset of disasters and climate crisis, and especially areas in the northern parts of Kenya. Insecurity has continued to block and hinder humanitarian access in some areas of the country. And I mean, for over 10 years now, I believe there is really a need to ensure these areas are accessible for his rescue and support from humanitarian bodies. Most of the time, if an area is not accessible, it means there are delays which are going to be caused. And by the time someone comes to bring help and support, you find people have already died. So I believe that can be a very important aspect to consider. Lastly, I strongly believe development and environment are inseparable, as well as climate change and sustainable development. The young people are and still will be most adversely affected and least able to cope with the anticipated shocks to the social, economic, and natural systems. I believe building climate resilience requires unity among people from different continents, status, backgrounds, indigenous communities, cultures, and also age groups. This includes working with private and financial sectors to align funding with global processes and supporting member states to deliver on their promises and commitments, and of course, to pay for the loss and damage which we already have here in the country. Thank you, Rose.
Thank you so much, Mary. And I think you just gave us a very important picture of how complex climate mobility is and how complex the solutions are in terms of, complex but simple solutions again, complex in a way that we cannot address just one aspect. Let's say, just engage people in let's say meetings and consultations. You actually need to go to the ground and put real solutions on the ground, solutions that create jobs. I think Maura pointed on that, and Humphrey too talked about that. Solutions that build the resilience, that create jobs, that improve the infrastructure and settlements. And I think those are really important. And of course, you hinted on aspects of participation, engagement, and collective action. Thank you so much, Mary. And allow me to go to the last of the opening panel before we go to this massive, I can't wait for this session where we're going to look at what young people are implementing in their communities. I really, really look forward to that. But before that, let me welcome Mohammed from Somalia, Mohammed Abdurrahman. Yeah, I think I got it right. Abdurrahman. Mohammed Abdurrahman, please.
Thank you so much, Rose. And hello, everyone, and happy International Youth Day.
Happy International Youth Day. So, guys, Mohammed that you're hearing from is, I don't even know how to describe him, but he's working really at the front line of the climate crisis. He's organizing LCOI. I don't know for you guys if you know LCOI, but he's organizing the local conference of youth in Somalia. And I've tasked him to ensure that climate mobility is part of LCOI and everything. Mohammed is working with IDPs, and it's a pleasure to have you here today. So, Mohammed, I have a question for you. And I was just thinking, what is it? I have so many things to ask you, but I was just wondering, what is that one specific question I can ask you? And my thoughts went to, how is LCOI integrating the issues of IDPs, migrants, young people? How is LCOI going to do that? How is LCOI going to ensure that the voices of displaced people are at the front line of LCOI and core processes?
Thank you so much, Rose. Firstly, I would like to apologize for the inconvenience. I'm currently experiencing some technical issues with my internet connection, so that I will not be able to turn on my camera. As you mentioned, I'm Mohammed Rahman Mohammed from Somalia, and I serve as the program manager for Climate Resilience and Adaptation Network. That is a local NGO that addresses climate issues here in Somalia. As you know, many of you know, Somalia challenges of climate mobility are not just theoretical. They are a harsh and present reality. Our nation is on the front lines of climate change, with increasing temperatures, unpredictable rainfalls, as well as the weather events leading to the widespread displacement. Every year, thousands of Somali people are forced to leave their homes due to the widespread or severe droughts, devastating floods, and also the degradation of arable lands. So this relentless cycle of displacement not only disturbs lives, but also places immense strain on the communities and resources that host those who are displaced. So our organization at Climate Resilience and Adaptation Network, our mission is to confront these challenges by building resilience at the community level. We also believe that through comprehensive education, capacity building sessions, and promotion of sustainable practices, so that we can empower communities through better withstand the impacts of climate change and reduce the need for forced migration. One of our most impactful initiatives that we are currently working with local organizers is the local conference of youth. As As you know, a local conference of youth is a platform that has been transformative in uniting people or young people from diverse backgrounds across the local community to engage in deep, meaningful discussions on climate challenges we face. So these gathering more than just the discussions. They are incubators for innovative solutions that directly respond to the urgent need of our displaced community. So by harnessing the energy and creativity of our youth, I think we believe to develop strategies that immediate humanitarian needs, while also laying the ground from the long-term sustainability and resilience. Our work at CIRAN, or at Climate Resilience and Adaptation Network, has been deeply involved with internal displaced persons in some of most vulnerable regions of Somalia, particularly in southern part of Somalia. As you know, these areas are home to communities that have been disproportionately affected by climate-induced displacement. And our efforts are focused on enhancing their resilience through targeted on-the-ground interventions. We are implementing climate education programs as well, promoting sustainable agricultural practices the rural areas, and we are working also to ensure that these communities have the tools they need to adapt and thrive in the face of ongoing climate challenges. As well, furthermore, in addition to our work with displaced communities, we are also collaborating with local donors on new exciting initiative aimed to support an unrepresented youth in climate events right here in Somalia. This initiative is crucial, and it seeks to empower young people who have traditionally been left out of these critical conversations, given that the platform they need to advocate for their communities and contribute the broader climate dialogues. In conclusion, the challenges of climate mobility in Somalia are immense, but they are not
Hamid, we lost you as you were concluding.
Through the dedicated efforts of organizations. I think you can hear me now, right?
Yes, please.
Sorry for the bad connection. Through the dedicated efforts of our organization like Climate Resilience and Adaptation Network and other local community organizations, with the active involvement of our youth, we are making strides toward a more resilient and sustainable future. Our work with internal displaced persons, our focus on empowering underrepresented youth, and our commitment to global climate advocates through initiatives like the new initiatives that we are currently working Somali Youth Mobilization for COOP are all steps toward addressing the urgent need of our community. And I believe that by continuing to work together with local communities, institutional governments or agents, sharing knowledge from the expertise from international organizations like IOM, and supporting each other across border, we can make significant impact in the fight against climate change. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. I'm not seeing my round of applause. We're going to have a problem if you're not clapping for my speakers. Yes, I see the claps coming. So thank you so much, Mohammed. Thank you for the work you're doing with the IDPs and organizing ELCOI. And as it talks to you, make sure climate mobility is part of the ELCOI statement and part of the whole programming. And as you know, Somalia, I can't think of any other country that is at the front line of climate mobility than Somalia. Thank you so much for sharing. So if you have questions to any of the people that have spoken, please put them in the chat box and tag them. They'll be able to reply, give responses to your questions. So having said that, why don't you allow me to go to the celebration of the innovation, celebration of these solutions we've had, about the challenges we've had, about the realities. How about we go to the solutions? What are young people doing more specifically as part of the International Youth Day today. IOM, Eastern Horn of Africa, IOM has given a platform for young people to showcase their solutions, to spotlight their solutions, because often young people are taken as if young and they don't have anything they're doing, they can just talk and that is it. But we are proving that to be incorrect. So without much wait, allow me introduce to you the geospatial data for climate mobility from Tanzania. Geospatial data for climate mobility. I don't know if you've ever heard about the word geospatial, but to me it sounds like technology, data, research. I don't even know. So let us hear from the geospatial data team to present to us what is it, what is this solution, and they will have about 5 minutes to share about their solution. I think Karine is on the call. Over to you, the geospatial data team.
Hi, Rose. Thank you so much for having us today. And thank you for IOM organizing this climate migration webinar, this Youth Day. Happy International Youth Day to every young person joining this call, but also every young person out there that is doing amazing work. So I'm Karine, as Rose introduced me. I lead a hub called Notaka Tanzania, and we are working on an intersection of climate change and migration, working with communities on the front line, especially those on the move. And we have a particular focus on refugees and host communities that are surrounding these areas. And in Tanzania, we work in the northern western part of the country where the camps are hosted, but also now slowly expanding to the central part of Tanzania. As Rose said, well, GIS and emerging technologies have been and are still reshaping how we think, especially as young people. And there's a lot that we can do, but also we can innovate and create from the power of these new technologies that we have. So working in the climate and migration space for some time, we realized that data sourcing, but also dissemination has been facing a few challenges and gaps, especially in the Eastern Horn of Africa region. And therefore, we wanted to curate a solution that filled in that gap, but also allowed communities from a policy governance perspective of things to make decisions and prepare or pre-plan for climate shocks in the future, in consideration of the voices and of the opinions of those that are already being affected and are on the move. Therefore, we came up with this pilot project that has been going on now for 2 years, and we created a geospatial data tool to help us analyze demographic, but also climate parameters surrounding these areas. So we use remote sensing data and field collected data married in with our software analysis tool that we have to see the impact of climate change on these communities, but also try to understand the granular issues that are affecting these people. So most of the research that has been conducted or done regarding climate change and migration has mostly focused on the major aspects or specific areas of these issues. So people would look at gender issues. People would look at, most of the time, especially when we're talking about environmental aspects, people would look at parameters like the impact maybe of flooding on agriculture, because this is food and people need it. But then we wanted to bring in a new face to this. So we wanted to weave in socioeconomic issues and try to understand those little small granular issues that these people face. So looking at their data around maybe their professional capacity married in with climate impact. How is their access to opportunities as people on the move, especially as young people, let's say, and what potential do they have? For instance, with refugees, what potentials do they have for their home country, but also the host country that is hosting them? So trying to understand these dynamics according to particular context. But also when maybe we speak about gender issues, we wanted to also see those little issues that come along with climate change when it comes to gender. So trying to understand how not only women are affected, but also at family level when it comes to the decision of moving, how prone or how easy is it for an old woman to move, or maybe a family woman to move, or maybe a young girl to move, and what are some of the aspects? We know we couldn't cover maybe all of the aspects, but what are some of the key aspects that can influence or impact their decision to move? And working in a particular context and area, what possible areas that they can move to, and how is it looking like there when it comes to climate adaptation planning and accommodating them. So it's a very complex and networked conversation, but I think it's high time that you take this on. It's definitely doable, because this gives us power as young people. When we enter those rooms and we're speaking of things, then we know exactly the voices of people that we're representing, but also the actual context and situation and how things are likely to play out, but also what are the possible things that we can do to help these communities and groups adapt. So over the course of the years, we've been able to raise funds, but also build rapport. This year, in the beginning of this year, we won the MYCP IOM award in Geneva during the GFMD summit, and that is coming after others last year and before, starting from COP27. And we're looking forward to use all these accolades and funding to expand the project further and see how we can better make more impact. Right now, we are focused on machine learning, so seeing how, because we're using GIS and air, but then now we're looking at how we can model and have more accurate predictions with machine learning, and we have been trying some models. Sadly, we'll see if it will work. I would show you our data tool. I would share my screen and show you our data tool, and also the new machine learning AI tool under the hub that we are currently piloting and trying, just to be able to help us to get more accurate data. But also when we sit down with governments, when we sit down with policymakers, when we sit down with these actual people that are impacted, when we sit down with youth, children, we can steer these conversations from the data that we have. So data plays a really, really critical and important role when it comes to climate and migration, especially when it comes to adaptation and planning in the near future.
Right.
Thank you so much, Rose.
Thank you so much, Karen. Can I see a round of applause? We need to embrace technology. AI is the big deal right now. Machine learning, GIS, remote sensing, so that we go into these rooms when we have evidence. We combine passion, we combine lived experience, we combine expertise and data, so that we talk from an informed point of view. And if anyone tries to challenge you thinking because you're youth, you just pull out the truth. You're like, this is what Notaka Tanzania did, and this is data you can also verify. Thank you so much, Corinne, for embracing these new technologies, for embracing these AI and machine learning to predict, to recover, to restore, and to engage people. And from Karen, allow me welcome Crispus Mwemaho with an initiative on Mohokia IDP Camp Livelihood Initiative that we actually work together. So over to you, Crispus, to share with us, what is the Mohokia IDP Camp Livelihood Initiative doing? What are the activities? What is the impact? Over to you, Crispus.
Thank you so much, Rose. Good afternoon from where I am, and happy International Youth Day to every one of us here for all the good work that you're doing. Kudos. So to start with, Rose, from all the previous speakers, we have actually, what we pick from what they were saying is that climate mobility problems are so much interlinked. And so I think the solutions should be also holistic, especially when we are addressing climate mobility challenges. And Mohokia IDP Camp Livelihood project or initiative is one of those initiatives that holistically address or provide solutions for the people who are displaced, particularly in the Mohokia IDP camp in Kasese district, Western Uganda. And this initiative is being implemented by a youth organization called Abayut Climate Action Network in partnership with Rose, who has also been a very good contributor and supporter for this initiative. And we, in this initiative, we are focusing on three parameters, and that is food security, education, and economic empowerment as a holistic way of addressing issues of climate displacement that are affecting people living in this camp. And within our different thematic areas, we have a program or an initiative that is addressing people in working groups within this camp. But to give a very small brief of a context of why Mohokia is one of many IDPs in Kasese district. For most of us here, climate mobility challenges, when we fast track their 5 years challenges, but Kasese is one of the districts that has been facing a decade of floods and landslides. And I was reading just recently in their district report, disaster report, reporting that in May alone, they had registered over 5,000 new displacements. And these people were living in IDPs. And it has over 7 IDPs. So Mohokia is one of those IDPs. So the reason as to why we chose Mohokia is one of the biggest IDPs, but also one that has people who have been affected by continuous, repetitive flooding. And one of the activities that we are having is climate smart farming, and this is particularly looking at we are basically hiring land for these people, where we train them and train them on climate smart farming practices, and people in this working group are able to produce, to grow and produce their own food, which is providing food security for a number of 20 households, and particularly 180 individuals. But this is far away from the reach or the target, which is the total population that is living in this camp, which is about 2,000 people and about 200 households. And then the other initiative is about economic empowerment. Well, as most of the previous colleagues mentioned, that climate displacement exacerbates poverty and economic hardships of the displaced people. We looked at this as a means of creating positive coping mechanisms within the IDPs. And we have two programs that are running under the economic empowerment programs. One is looking at tailoring, where we are empowering women and girls to do tailoring. And of course, also these programs are looking at solving local challenges within the camp. For instance, we came up with this idea from the members themselves, whereby women and girls had a challenge of not having sanitary pads. And we wanted to have this initiative whereby now people are able to produce, make their own handmade sanitary pads out of the skill that we have trained them. And with this program, we have trained over 70 women and girls who have now the skill and are just lacking the capacity or capital to start off their own ventures. But the other program under the economic empowerment is we trained these people how to do, how to make soap locally. And this was because I am a medical person by profession. And while we were doing a needs analysis, the sanitation and the hygiene in the camp was very worrying. And the whole wash problems were just too much. So we were thinking of how we can curb down this, because, you know, families cannot afford the cost of soap. And we came up with this initiative, which is producing local soap, same quality almost, but at a very cheap price that is affordable to most of the households in the camp. And with this initiative, we have empowered over 90 people within the camp who are within this working group, and they are selling this soap and having income generated for their households.
You wrap up,
But
please.
yes. The last component is education, and what you're seeing in this picture is a bit of a very improvised structure that is a nursery school for children under the age of 12, and we are having over 100 children within the camp who are receiving free education from this program. And we hope that with more funding, we can scale off this to be a complete school where IDP kids or children can have free education and have their right to education like any one of us. Because we believe that if these people are not educated, they'll continue not understanding their rights, but also how they can fight to make sure that they achieve the change that they deserve. So education is very key, and I'm happy that the previous speakers mentioned that when it flooded in various countries that they were mentioning, education was also one of the factors or areas that were affected. So we are doing this to make sure that we empower the children to also have a brighter future. Over to you, Rose.
Thank you so much, Chris Patz. Thank you so much. I know you can talk about this for like 2 hours, so maybe we can do something else, a one-on-one for the people interested in hearing about our projects. And can I see a round of applause? Guys, we are celebrating here. We are not sad. We are celebrating these amazing projects. As you can see, you know, hundreds of people, hundreds of children having access to, you know, child development learning, and people trying to adapt to the situation that they're in. Thank you so much, Chris Patz, for presenting. I can see good comments coming through. And with that said, allow me welcome Kelly Ojo from Kenya, from Jazamiti Hope for Home Resettlement and Climate Education Project. Kelly, over to you. Kelly? Okay, looks like.
Hello, Rose. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone.
Hey, Kelly, happy International Youth Day.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you. Go on, please. Present to us this initiative. I'm really excited about it.
Thanks so much, Rose. I have a chance to interact with you in this platform. Also, thank you so much, IOM, for the opportunity. My name is Kelly Ojo. I'm from SORI Africa, that's Society for Refugees and Youth in Africa. We advocate for climate migration through cultural exchange, sports, and education. One of our main projects, this one include Jazamiti for home resettlement and climate education. Jazamiti basically is about planting trees, and also we venture into educating students from rural homes, rural schools, to be exposed and also to get to know more about protecting the environment through tree planting and collection of plastic waste. One of the main projects that we do is we provide housing for displaced families. And this one also is not about housing, but also temporary hosting, because we can't support everyone, but with the little that we have, at least we can support someone, or we can change a life. When it comes to housing for displaced families, this is where we partner with different organizations and also different companies. And Rose will agree with me that currently we are facing challenges to respond to this disaster. Most of the communities, most likely, for example, the last 2 or 3 months, Kenyans experienced floods, as Mary had mentioned earlier. And we could see most of the people have been displaced, and even schools were interrupted. And this is a situation whereby most of the communities, they take the responsibility by their own, not waiting for their government to come through and help them to host and also to respond to disaster. And we are part of the team in collaboration with different organizations, including Kenya Red Cross and also youth groups. And this is a situation whereby we were able to host different families who have been displaced as they wait to get somewhere where they can again resettle permanently. One of the main projects that we have done when it comes to resettlement, we did again like last year. There was in 2022 where we have built homes for around 7 displaced families. And the challenges that we have faced with, like, by the time we are building this home, for example, there's a family called Mr. Chege. We built for him a house, a 3-bedroom house made of iron sheets. But again, after 8 months after, they were again struck with another disaster because part of the house caught fire and it started burning. So again, we are back to the table, and then we have to see, like, if we are supporting these people, we are resettling these people with iron sheet. But again, the iron sheet can again get fire. Then what technology again that can we come up with to see can be resistant to fire? And that's where we came across Green Pavers. Green Pavers is an organization that they recycle plastic waste through by building interlocking blocks. So this is where we came through and we partnered with them. And most of the street kids in Nairobi, again, are migrants. Because some of them, they don't have family, they have been displaced. Some of them have been kicked away from their rural homes. And also the only place that they can find a living, they can get a living is in Nairobi. And that's where they are again living the streets. So our initiative, again, we were able to collect some of the street kids and we talked to them and we tell them if they could be able to collect plastic waste from the around Nairobi city, at least we have a place where they can go and sell them. So we have partnered with the Green Pavers, whereby the collection of plastic waste from the street kids, we pay them according to the tons that they have collected. Then these plastic waste are being grinded and then mixed with the soil to form a building block. If I share with you more about the good news about these building blocks that we are using, is that they are resistant to fire. As we well know, the melting point of fire is 100 degrees Celsius, but with the building blocks is around 115. So it means that it can't get burned easily. At least there's room, it's resistant to fire, and there's room whereby people can again be saved in case of such disaster. So currently that's the project that we are doing, and we are in the first space of developing community library and also social center, whereby most of the displaced families, in case of disasters, they can find rescue or refuge in case of anything or any disaster might strike, as we wait for them to be resettled. The good thing about the libraries, Karibu Library project that we are planning to do, in the first place, we have got a well-wisher and has given us a land somewhere in Kisumu. And one of the good thing about this thing is that it's not just a library. We are also coming up with the power space, whereby these kids or these families, they can engage to sports that are in-house sports like table tennis, basketballs, and also this one as well will help in building their mental capacity, because these people have come from a very, very tough environment, and also their mental states again might be interfered. So when we come up with such an initiative, we believe it will help them to recover. So that is one of the main projects that we are in the first place of building, but most we have done. I'll share our website link in the chat so that someone can get time to go through the website, and also go to the footer of the website. You can find our YouTube links, most of the projects that we have done when it comes to climate education, resettlement, and also advocacy and recycling. And also they'll be able to see what we have done, and they'll be also be in a position to reach us through partnerships and different initiatives. Thanks so much, Rose, and I'm humbled.
Thank you so much, Kelly. I've had the opportunity to know everyone who is presenting, and we've talked about these projects before, or we've collaborated before. So I'm really looking forward for your presentation, Kelly, just as how I was waiting for it for all the others. And we know resettlement infrastructure can be really capital demanding, and one of the challenges talked about was the funding. So thank you for sharing with us this innovation that is turning waste into into housing that is turning, that is looking at the sustainability as well as the safety of the people. And having heard from Sorry Africa, allow me to welcome the Youth Association for Peace and Development, YAPD, YAPD, to share with us the project on building peace and resilience in conflict-affected areas. Over to you, Narcisse, to share with us the project from Youth Association for Peace and Development. Narcisse, I saw you in the call. I think, oh, you're there. We can't hear you in case you're speaking. Maybe you can remove the headsets and then. No, you're on mute. Can you try speaking, please? No, we can't hear you. Maybe you can be sorting out the tech there. No, we can't hear you. So allow me to go to the next person as you sort out the tech issues there. Oh, there's someone helping out, so I'll give it a minute. Okay, I think we can move on a bit and we'll come back to you. So why don't we go to...
Can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you. Amazing. Perfect. And now we can't hear you now. Okay, let's get to the next.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you once again, Rose. My name is Narcisse Bakwa. I'm a refugee currently in South Sudan, the executive director of a refugees-led organization called Youth Association for Peace and Development. Actually, some of you may ask the question, why do we decide to implement this kind of project? The answer is very simple. Being a refugee, most of the country and the state nowadays are not receiving refugees because of our impact on the refugees or in the state. We always contribute like a deforestation and the burning of bush because this is the only means of survival for us. So we have found that most of our colleagues have been refused to have access to the refugees within the state. So we say as a refugees, we need to come up with the idea where we need to contribute to the country which is hosting us by planting more trees, by helping the government to get what we are contributing to, like we are removing from them. Now we have come up with the idea for reforestation, where refugees themselves need to plant more trees. By times, if a time comes, we are going back, the government will need to be happy that people have been here, refugees, but they have planted trees and these are the ones they have done. Nowadays, most of refugees, they are burning trees, they are burning bush, they are selling firewood, they are doing everything. So we have come up with the idea to educate our refugees, our fellow brother refugees, that cutting tree down, you need to know that if you cut one, at least do something to plant like 4 or 5 trees so that other people who will come after you can benefit from it. We have so far educated the community, giving awareness within the church, within the public activity in sport. And remember, we are doing all this in voluntary basis since 2019 up to date. We are still there doing it. And we have already have some good connection with some a company within South Sudan, especially in the west part of South Sudan, Western Equatorial State, like a tea company, coffee company. They always come to us and ask us, you have some people you are praying, we want to engage with them so that they can also give the knowledge to the community by planting trees, by doing other things. And we always collaborate with them and we are now moving very well.
You can see here in the other picture, we have women who are making a nursery bed. These are women who got pregnant at the age of 14 or 13 years, and the men ran away from them. So they are not able even to get soap to support themselves. So we have to bring them back so that they can start doing something and earning soap for themselves instead depending on men. And you can see them, they are very happy. Now they are even getting themselves in a green job. They can make tomatoes, fruit, other things, selling, and they don't depend on someone. So those are the good things we are seeing within our project. And we have so far educated so many people within the countries apart in the west side of South Sudan, where refugees are now able to talk about planting trees, burning bush. They always, if you talk about it, they can even accuse you to the government, this one is doing this. So they want the environment to be very well. Because you remember last year, just this year, what happened to South Sudan, which we don't want to it to happen with the heat. We are now finding a way how we can make it more tangible than the one before. I think I have some idea that like now we are planning to have more tree planting within 10 schools if we get some support with the community. Even we want to involve the government force like a police, soldier, because they are there, they can do something. It is not just the student who can plant trees. Soldier, they are not just to use gun, but they can contribute to the environment of the country. So I beg to stop here.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Thank you so much. I'm glad to hear how these, I think why I picked really is like, if you want to empower people, empower them through livelihoods, empower them to make their own money, empower them with knowledge and information and awareness. And that's really commendable, working with not only refugees, but also the host communities, because sometimes we talk about refugees and forget the host communities. It's absolutely important, not only even in refugees only, but even migrants. We also have to talk about the hosting countries and the hosting people. Very commendable work you're doing. Thank you for presenting and sharing us this project. And our greetings our greetings to the people of South Sudan, to the people you're working with. I know you're in a refugee camp right now, so really commendable work. So coming from South Sudan, I'm taking you back to Uganda. Allow me introduce Patrick Seremba, who will be presenting to us the EcoBed Biotech Initiative. What do you think it is? I'm hearing biotech, eco, bed. It's massive. I'm super excited to hear what this is about. Over to you, Patrick.
Thank you, Rose. The names are just signifying what we actually do. My name is Patrick Seremba from Uganda. I manage programs and production at EcoBed Biotech brand. Basically, it's a biotechnology company that transforms food waste, and then we manufacture a variety of products based on what we get from there. So our story began with a simple yet a powerful idea. We wanted to turn food waste into valuable resources. That's why I met with my co-founder, Jovia. We had different ideas, but we had to merge them into one. First of all, Uganda is currently struggling with food waste. The recent news that you've seen on media showing a waste landslide just 10 kilometers away from where I'm staying. And then many districts are trying to shun away from that waste because they think if this waste is disposed in their areas, the same calamity that has befell Kampala will befall the same area where the wastes are likely going to be dumped. So we have a problem of waste, whether organic, whether synthetic. Waste is a challenge that is affecting us. So what EcoBed does, we transform this waste and then we make products. One of our key products is a mosquito repellent skincare lotion, which we make from milk that has gone bad, that we collect from factories, that we collect from farmers. We filter it and then bring out essential nutrients called lactic acid that we condense, and then we make mosquito repellent skincare lotions. Secondly, we also employ tiny insects that are called black soldier flies. These ones have a larva which is very active, and it can decompose majority of organic wastes. This one we mainly collect it from hotels. The food that you leave when you go for hotel picnics, and then restaurants, schools, and then other places. So we collect that food, and then we aggregate it, separate it, and then we feed it to the larvae, which are very active. And then they give us variety of raw materials that we sell. We make fish feeds that we sell to aquaponics farm. We make fertilizers. We also make animal feeds that we mix in animals, and then chicken can thrive, and then you can enjoy nice chicken. Yeah, so that's basically what we do, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Patrick. I think that is absolutely amazing. And transforming waste, you mean any one of us can transform our waste into some valuable thing? You know, the food that people waste can turn into fertilizer, organic fertilizer, and help farmers and create jobs and improve food security. But wait, also the milk, spoiled milk can be transformed into lotion. How come I didn't know this? Thank you so much, Patrick, for sharing. Really, our greetings to Zovia too. Thanks for working on this very great initiative. And allow me to open up for questions. We're going to be a little bit late because how can anyone leave when we have such a big celebration? So I'm going to open up for at least one question per presenter for the initiative presenters. If you have a question that has not been answered and it's really burning, it's your time now. So you can raise your hand, you can unmute and ask. It would be nice if you raise your hand and then I select you. But if you can't figure out where the hand raising option is, you can let me know. You can unmute and then talk. Okay, I'm gonna assume that everyone understood everything, no questions. So why don't you please don't leave? We are almost getting there. So having had all those ones, why don't you allow me to welcome, you know, we're here, we've been supported by IOM. IOM has helped us to organize this, to celebrate these powerful initiatives you've heard about. Why don't we hear from an expert from IOM to share with us what the vital role IOM is playing and what the reflection is about these innovations and things that we've shared today on International Youth Day. And then we'll have a surprise. That is why I'm telling you, don't leave yet. There's a surprise. Over to you, Yuri.
Hey, thank you very much, Rose, and good afternoon, everyone, and happy International Youth Day. It's been really nice to hear what a comprehensive set of solutions are coming from youth, from circular economy to technology, and having these holistic responses, not looking at just one area, but food, nature, shelter, livelihoods all together for many of these great grassroots-led initiatives. And this is what I do find what an interesting group of the youth always represents. Just like migrants, we often talk about the problems that are coming with it, but with the correct support and the correct resources, it's also, there's a massive amount of potential to be unlocked, and having this leadership and support that can turn some of these problems or concerns into leadership, new initiatives, and really just start talking as actors of change and being equal implementing partners as we take climate action and the nexus of human mobility. So I do think that that's one of those key areas, is to improve the access to places. We saw maybe the first half was more about this knowledge and advocacy that youth can bring with its extensive networks. And it's really important to have these possibilities to come and participate. As IOM, we are next week bringing again youth across Africa to join the Africa Group of Negotiators meeting so that we have youth voices, not only to presenting, but also discussing directly. So it's good to have that. And then we try to constantly also improve the access to resources for youth to scale up these opportunities. And I would like to finish my speech there and thank everybody, but I would like to also let my colleague Wendy tell a little bit more about new platforms where youth can go forwards and where we can echo the voices and ensure that they are properly heard across Africa and across the world. So thank you very much, and over to you, Wendy.
Thank you, Yuri. Hi, everyone. My name is Wendy Adhiambo, and I am the Project and Public Information Assistant here at the IOM Regional Office in Nairobi. And I am here to plug you on an opportunity. We've launched a call for blog submissions today, and it is an initiative started by the Climate Action Division here in the regional office in Nairobi. The call is targeted at young people in the Eastern Horn of Africa who would like to showcase solutions addressing human mobility in the context of climate change and environmental degradation in the region. We have laid out key thematic areas to guide your focus, but you can also feel free to explore other themes that are tied to climate mobility in the region. So through these blog posts, we hope that by amplifying the voices of youth, we will inspire other young people to take action in addressing climate mobility and build the overall understanding of the nexus. So the deadlines we have set, we expect the first abstract to be submitted by 2nd September. And the call is generally for young people between 18 to 35 years of age from the East and Horn of Africa region. So you can share it with your friends, you can share it with other groups that you know are working towards addressing climate mobility, particularly in the Eastern Horn of Africa, and who can showcase their solutions. And by 30th of September, we hope to make the first selection, and we will issue the call now for the full blog text. So if your abstract has been selected, we will reach out to you and request you to submit the full blog text. And hopefully by 15th of December, we can review the full blog posts, and you'll share them with us, and we can review them up to 1st March of 2025, and we'll begin the publications. So I'll share the link with you so that you can read more into the themes we are aiming to cover, and hopefully we get your submissions by the 2nd of September. Looking forward to seeing texts from all of you who are in this call. And yeah, you can reach out to us for more information. I'll post all the links here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wendy. This is the surprise I was telling you about. Have you ever wanted to write something about climate mobility, or about your solution, or about people on the move, or about the solutions for people to stay? How about the solutions for people that are immobile and stuck? So if you wanted to do that, this is the opportunity for you to write. And then, can you imagine you will write, and then if you're selected, you'll be highlighted, your blog will be found on the IOM website. That's a big thing, I'm telling you. So thank you, Wendy, for sharing. And before, can we take a group photo? What is celebration without photos? I don't even know. So let's take a group photo. I also know that there are questions. Roger has had the hand up for very long. Can you allow me to take a group photo, and then we come back? We come back and answer the questions and hear what Roger is saying. So if you can turn on your camera, please turn on your camera. We can do a heart. If you have a drink, you can also cheers. Let's see the cameras turn on, and I'm going to think Wendy is taking over the camera taking, the photo taking. Please turn on your cameras. And you can pause whatever way. I see Edwin on the call. Yay! Can you see? I have hearts. Wait. When did you want to count for us? And tell us.
Just a minute. Let me take a screenshot. 1 minute.
Oh, my hearts.
1, 2, 3, go. Yeah, done.
Happy Youth Day, everyone. So let's hear the questions. Rogers, you've had your hand up for so long. What is your question? I know there was a question to Mary. So Mary, be ready after Rogers finish asking the question. Over to you, Rogers. Okay, Mary, can you answer the question? There was a question for you in the chat box. Okay, did I lose everyone? Okay, Rogers is there.
Hello, Rose.
Yes, please go on.
Hello, Rose and colleagues. Everybody, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Could you kindly remind me the name of the individual that presented from Uganda? Serumba.
Seremba, Patrick.
Is he still on?
I'm hoping so. Patrick, are you here?
My question is directed to him.
I will reach out to him. You can ask the question. If he's not here, then I'll let him know.
Yeah. The question that I have is kind of like the question I've always had about transformative initiatives or efforts. So what he presented was mainly around this theme of transforming waste into useful products. So like the lactic acid from bird milk to insecticides and lotions. My question is, how is his transformative process green? How is it sustainable?
No, that's absolutely a very important question. And
all right, over. Thank you.
Yeah, Patrick, if you're on the call, I think that's really absolutely important. I was also wondering if it involves, especially if it involves banning, because it means some carbon can be released and stuff. But I think this is an idea for the next time. Next time we just talk about the realities and going deeper into how people are actually implementing and how green are they. But that's a very, very important question. And I think it's a cross-cutting question for waste conversion and anything to do with waste into some other product. And I think the question also could apply to Kelly. But guys, so I shared a link in the group. The first link, if you want to join the Eastern Horn of Africa Academic Youth Google mailing list, you can fill that form and you'll be added. If you're not already there, you'll be added on the mailing list. This mailing list is for communication. We have an action plan for implementation, for sharing opportunities. And then Wendy has shared the blog post submissions. Please mark your calendar. Make sure you take advantage of this opportunity. I'm telling you so that others don't hear. I'm joking. Make sure you share with everyone. There's space for everyone. And then I've shared also a Mentimeter link. I want to hear, what did you think about today's event? So I've shared a link and I just want to get your feedback on what you think about today's event. If you just want to type in the chat box, please do that. But the link I've shared, please, if you can give me the Mentimeter, so the code is, let me just paste the code there. Can you tell me if it's working for you? Is the Mentimeter? Yes, I think it's working. So can you please share? I see people saying it's informative. Use the link I shared, the Mentimeter one, and share with me, answer those questions. I'm sharing the link once again. I don't know if people are able to use Mentimeter, but if you can, please, it would be amazing. I'm only seeing one person in, so I think, is that the only person who has managed to get into Mentimeter? Okay, I think it's a failed, guys, we're talking about tech. We're talking about tech. We need to get good at this. Yeah, I think it's failed. People have not managed to get in. Only one person. People would like to have chats with me. We'll connect after here. But so write your feedback in the chat box. Write your, what did you think? I'll just ask you questions. Write for me. Describe today's event in less than 2 words. Let's do that. In less than 2 words, describe today's event. You can write more if you want, but if you can, less than 2 words. I'm looking at people who are not typing. I'm looking at you guys who are not typing. Awakening, encouraging, powerful, fantastic, very informative, amazing. I need to see more. We need to see more. This all goes to the presenters, the speakers. Those words are for you. They're not for any other. And to IOM for convening us. And I would say, even to me, right? Powerful and inclusive, informative, interactive, short. We've been here for almost 2 hours. So I'll take that and say that means it was interesting, right? And then the last question is, what are you going to do after now when it comes to climate mobility? You've heard what people are doing. You've learned what climate mobility is. So what are you going to do after now? I want to hear your commitments. I don't want this to be one of those where we come and disappear and we keep quiet. We never talk about it again. So what are you going to do after now? I can't see people typing. I gather, Ian, I can't see you typing. Sharon, Bravin, good to see you again. Edwin, good to see you. Good to see you. And Hafsa, hope to see more practical solutions. I'm going to collaborate, act in a climate sensitive way, take action. Abdullahi, what are you gonna do? Become more active and engaged to support IOM, advocating. I'm going to keep my voluntary work up and applying for opportunity, spread the gospel, support affected communities, and take other actions. Share the learnings, encourage more people to join, share the big blog news. Amazing. So thank you guys for joining. Thank you for coming. And thank you to IOM for being here with us and for giving us the platform to share opportunities, to share innovations, to share solutions. And from all of us, let's meet on social media. Let's meet in our contact list. Let's meet on the Google mailing list for youth in the Eastern Horn of Africa on issues of academic and climate mobility. From myself, by the power vested in me as your moderator today, bye-bye.